there's a big change looming on the horizon. We are all eagerly snapping up every crumb that College Board drops about this incoming new digital adaptive SAT. And while those of us in the United States have a little bit of time to get ready, families and students abroad see this as a much more imminent concern. And Sonya, you're certainly on the front lines. So let's get into this. Let's talk about the digital SAT. What do we know about the digital SAT, and what are we still waiting to learn?
The College Board early this month released a lot of information on the digital SAT. Honestly, after the information that they've released, the only thing that we are waiting upon is to actually see the full length test. Everything else that a tutor or a parent would want to know has been released, and the specs are in place. The most important thing is the format. I think all of us were waiting to understand the format, to understand how the structure is. You are going to have a module-based format. So the reading and writing is going to be one module, one section, and the math is going to be the other section. Important aspect over here is your scoring is not changing. You will still have the same scoring scale, which is the 400 to 1600 points, and each section will be based on the 200 to 800 scaling system. Within the reading and writing, you're going to have two modules, each of 20 questions, which are scored, and two questions which are unscored. And each module will be for 32 minutes. The math, you're going to have two modules of 20 questions which are scored and two questions which are unscored. And each module over here is going to be for 35 minutes. This is something that all of us were waiting for, to understand what this format is. So this is now a 2-hour, 14-minute test as compared to the old one, which is a 3-hour test. Going to the adaptive part, this will be a section adaptive test. This was, again, some information that we were waiting on. We knew it's section adaptive, but we didn't know the entire system by which it's going to be working. And now we do know that.
And it's probably worth noting that one of the emphases is on, even though the test is shorter, that they're trying to move away from a speeded test, right? So the fact that it's a shorter test doesn't mean students have less time. They're actually providing students more time per question because they don't want that to really be a factor in their score, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, there's two aspects to that. Go ahead, Sonya.
Sorry. Amy, also, if you see the basic structure that they have, though it's adaptive, they have not adopted the question adaptive for the simple reason is within the section, you can go back and forth. Now, this is only going to be possible with the section adaptive system that they've adopted. Secondly, the fact that College Board has assured us that if you lose your internet connection or if your device loses a battery power, you are still going to be able to submit your test. Now, if it was a dynamic question by question adaptive structure, you wouldn't have been able to do this. The fact that your test is kind of preloaded allows you to do this. I think Neill is going to just elaborate on that format.
I was just, I love how sometimes there's obvious practical, pragmatic, and fairly pedantic concerns that drive some of these things. So we all thought they were going to do this super IRT adaptive model where they're grabbing questions out of a giant question pool and assembling things as they go. But the reality is that like they're terrified about the rollout and about putting this in a school and the school losing their Wi-Fi, in which case the IRT model simply wouldn't work. Because if you lose connection and you're assembling a section on the fly, then the whole test comes to a screeching halt.
And so that's a legitimate concern, you know, based upon their experience with offering even an online test, right, for the APs during COVID, right? So they have to be very pragmatic about what they're doing, because obviously the rollout's got to go very, very smoothly and the technology has got to work really, really well, right?
I think some of those pragmatic questions even extend to the scoring grid, the scoring range itself. I mean, obviously we know that 1600 is an iconic thing. and they wanted to hang on to that. Everyone associates that with the SAT.
Yeah,
And if
we
they suddenly-
remember what happened when they drifted away for a decade. They're
everyone was-
walking in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Everyone was wildly confused, and to get rid of that, now everyone's got to rethink it and get used to a new system, and that's bad for business.
We hope you enjoyed this video as much as we did. You'll find plenty more like it when you explore the Test and the Rest channel. Be sure to comment, share, and subscribe for a constant stream of insights into learning, education, testing, and admissions. For full podcasts and amazing resources, find us at testsandtherest.com.